Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got another successful student today that we're going to interview. He's never been on the show before. He's been in our community for quite some time. And what I like about Michael's story that you're about to hear is he's followed the trajectory, this path that we take students down. We've heard time and time and time again on this show, students who come in, they're clueless newbies. Maybe they've toyed around with e-commerce a little bit in their past. They sold a few things on eBay, that sort of thing, but they never really took it serious and never really tried to grow a real business. Well, today we're going to meet Michael Lieberman, and he started off with the basic models that we teach. The proven Amazon course, which is where he started, starts all new students at the exact same point. We're going to teach you the basics, very low risk, very low learning curve, very low investment required, very high odds of success. And that gets you your confidence, that gets you some momentum. And then, as quick as you'd like to move forward through the other business opportunities that we lay out, you can begin to move forward. And that's what Michael's done. He started off understanding the REPLENS model, learning the tool called Keepa, which we'll talk about. Podcast 369, that episode goes into what Keepa is, why it's so important, what's unique about that tool. But he learned those basics. Then he got into wholesale, which is a great next step. By the way, our proven wholesale sourcing.com classes are rocking right now. As you're listening to this, it's not too late to get caught up and to jump into that class with us. It's a mastermind where we're diving into wholesale concepts for those of us who understand the basics of Keepa, how to make good decisions about which inventory to buy. The next best step for a lot of people is to get into wholesale. So those classes at provenwholesalesourcing.com have formed. You can get caught up. It's all being recorded. Jump in there if you'd like. But that's where Michael moved next. And now he moved into launching his own private label product. And it's going really well. And he's scaling it out. So you can see the trajectory that we talk about so often around here as you kind of climb the pyramid of success. You've heard us maybe talk about it that way, where you start off with the lowest risk, easiest to get results models where there's going to be slightly more competition and a little more difficulty in scaling large, although we see many sellers stay right there and build multiple seven-figure businesses. But as you get into some of the more unique relationships, you're protecting your own territory, and then maybe you launch your own brand, you're kind of climbing the ladder of opportunity. There's a lot to be said for that model. And here's yet another student who's been with us for a while now, a few years, and he's done exactly that. And he's doing very well. Just to share some round numbers, he's had on his best profit years, he cleared almost $180,000 profit after everything was paid, taxes, everything, with his Amazon business. That's the level he's operating at, just to give you a bit of an idea of where he's at today. So let's jump over and spend some time with Michael Lieberman. You're going to enjoy spending some time with someone who's been around a while, got a lot of cool stories to share. It's going to help you whether you're brand new to our community or maybe you've been around a while and you're looking for those next stages. We're here to help you. Last thing I'll say before we bring Michael on is if you've never had a conversation with us, or maybe it's been a while since you hopped on the phone with us, why not book a call, schedule a call to see which of our resources make the most sense for you. Maybe you just need some of our free resources, a few good podcast suggestions to get you motivated and inspired. We'd love to talk to you about it. Maybe you want to get into the Proven Amazon course. It just costs a few dollars per month, and it gives you our entire library of all of our Amazon e-commerce training. ProvenAmazonCourse.com has details on that. Or you want a coach, someone to work with you one-on-one to help you go further faster. Our guest today had a coach, and he speaks very highly of the experience he had with our team, helping him achieve the goals that he's now achieved. You can book a call with us, schedule a call at this link, silentjim.com/book a call, all one word. That's our schedule. Pop on there. Let's have a conversation. Let's see which of our resources make the most sense for you. Just a friendly chat, get to know you a little bit, help you plug into our community in a way that makes the most sense for you. All right, let's jump over and have some time with our guests now. Let's go. So Michael, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
You too. Thank you for having me. This is great. I'm excited.
I love it. I say it all the time. This is my favorite part of the job, getting to know the students from our community and hearing their stories. So you ready to get rolling with your story?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. So, I guess I got started in e-commerce. I would say there's 2 points in my life. When I was young, my dad was he still is, in the used car business.
Okay.
So he started listing automobiles on eBay. So I was exposed to e-commerce at a young age, maybe around 12 years old. And then what I would do is I would actually sell my toys that I wasn't using anymore and put them on eBay. So I would make the listings and everything. So just from watching my dad operate eBay is kind of how I got exposed. And then between then and about 27 years old, I'm turning 34 next month. So a few years ago, I'm living in a house with a few of my buddies, and one of my friends, he goes, someone I work with is actually selling TVs on Amazon. And it was in that moment that I kind of had like an aha where I was like, wait a minute, I know how to create listings online. I've done that before. So let me kind of look around online and see if there's any courses on, how to kind of develop your technical skills in e-commerce. So, I did a bunch of research. I hopped around to a few different courses. Nothing really stuck. Me and my buddy actually started a private label thing that we ended up breaking even on. So after that, we kind of ended it. But deep down inside, I knew that I still wanted to pursue the e-commerce route and online business. I had for even years, even since maybe I was 18, thinking about entrepreneurship. So after a few different courses, I think it was on the podcast app. I just searched Amazon, and then you popped up. That was back in 2017 or 2018.
Oh, you've been around a
And
while then. I didn't realize that, man. I probably should.
yeah,
I've seen your name more than just recently. Okay,
yeah. I've hopped around in the Facebook community. I've definitely
for sure.
been around in there. That's a great resource. But it was your podcast where I put on one episode, and I can't remember exactly what you were saying, but it was hitting home to me. And you made it sound like it was a lot more simple than other people were making it out to be. I knew it was going to take hard work, but the way that you communicated the message on the podcast, I remember at that time just being like, okay, this is the guy that I'm going to learn from. And I just knew that that's how it was going to be. So from there, I found the Proven Amazon course, purchased that. The first course that I took was the online arbitrage course. And it was through that course that I learned how to operate Keepa, which is, for those who don't know, that's an incredibly valuable Amazon product research tool that I highly recommend.
Episode 369 is the one I always send people to. If they've never heard us talk about Keepa before, go listen to that. Yeah, huge in our
Yeah,
community. It's the one
absolutely.
must have and the only, it's really the only must have tool for new Amazon sellers. Every other tool is unnecessary. We say that.
I would totally agree. I mean, it's that good. It really gives you fabulous insight into whatever market you're doing research in. I had success with the online arbitrage route. And then I ended up going back to the Proven Amazon course after probably maybe a year or so, because I was looking for more. I wanted to keep building. And I was trying to become, a successful full-time entrepreneur. So I went back into the Proven Amazon course because you got so many different courses in there. For some reason, the wholesale course stuck out to me. And I took that and I rolled with that for probably a good 3 to 4 years of doing wholesale product research, very successfully too. I probably had a good 4 SKUs that were real money makers. And that wholesale course was excellent. Everything was, just perfect. And I successfully was doing wholesale for that amount of time. I would say that in my lowest year of doing wholesale, profit wise, I probably did about $90,000 in profit after taxes. And then my most successful year was probably about 150 to 175,000 in profit.
Wow, nice.
And that was, I felt superb about that, obviously. So, I stuck with wholesale. I was obsessed with it. And I would say probably last year, maybe the year before, something happened that was interesting. I started to notice that all the wholesale products that I was selling, there was a bunch of Chinese sellers that came in with similar knockoff products, and the price just tanked on all of them. So even before that happened, I had been thinking about private label for a while. And this is going to sound crazy now, but I was intimidated to jump down the private label route. I think mainly because I was doing so well with wholesale that I felt like I might be giving something up. And I felt like maybe I would be taking away, I would be leaving money on the table if I did that. But as time went on, and I kept listening to different podcasts, listening to you, listening, just getting more experience, I realized that starting a private label venture is probably one of the best things you could do as a physical product, aficionado.
Yeah. Yeah. And we
Because
completely agree. Once you're positioned and prepared and you're past that newbie stage of just doing everything anyone suggests and you're throwing money at this thing and pay per click will save me from this really bad buy I filled my garage with. No, it won't.
right.
It takes some savvy and some experience. But yeah, it sounds to me, and I don't know your story. I don't know where we're heading here exactly, but I do know that from what you've described, you're a great candidate to start to jump into building your own brand at this point. Your instincts have evolved to the point where you know the game and you're not going to make any, stupid risks out of this thing.
Right. And I mean, kind of through your education, I realized very quickly that, product research is the most important part if you're trying to do something private label. I ended up actually also taking one of the private label courses in the pack. I think, is his name Ryan, right? I think Ryan's his name. So one of the most amazing things I heard in that course was, he basically said, do your product research, and, you don't necessarily have to, it doesn't have to be something that you get from China and import. It could be as simple as, reaching out to the manufacturer and just asking them if you could throw your label on it.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I mean, that stuck with me. And then when I started doing, private label research, so that'll lead me to where I am now. I was doing product research. I knew I wanted to private label, and I was having a real tough time finding something. I was researching for months at this point, maybe 5-6 months. So I just took out a piece of paper and I started writing down things that I was interested in. I probably had a list of maybe 10 or 20 different things. And I just went on Amazon and kind of just went down the categories on Amazon and then went down into the subcategories until I couldn't go down anymore, which I actually took away from the wholesale course. But I figured, let me try doing that in some private label research. So I did that. I landed on an interesting product. There was only one person selling it, but it was directly related to something else that I was very passionate about. So I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the numbers on Keepa, and I'm going, man, this is, I could definitely jump in here. I just got to find the source for the product. And probably a good 2 months it took me to find the manufacturer for a product that was, the same or similar. I reached out to a few different manufacturers, some of them didn't even respond. They asked me, questions like I had 5 heads looking,
Right.
They just couldn't understand. And eventually I found a manufacturer. I reached out to them and they didn't answer me for a month. So in between then and that month, I'm like, man, this is like, what do I got to do here? Like I was really getting upset about it. And eventually they reached back out to me. I told them, hey, I'm looking to purchase your product in bulk. I want to do a test order. I'd like to put my label on it. And they said, absolutely. We do that all the time. So I was thrilled.
It's just called white labeling, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that what they called it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many manufacturers are willing to do that. And then you can put your own brand on it and, make it a legitimate trademark brand. It's just, that's what the generic brands are at the grocery store.
Right.
Right.
And that's something that I didn't realize actually until taking the private label course through the pack. When I realized you could do that, I'm like, that's what I said I was like, you could do that?
Mm-hmm.
And So yeah, so that manufacturer, they totally agreed. And I placed a test order that was about $2,700 worth. It took about 2 or 3 months to receive the product. They're actually located in Europe. So once I finally got the product, I threw it up on Amazon and it started selling well. I think I ordered about 100 units, and I probably sold out all of them in about a month, maybe a month and a
Wow.
half.
That's a great story. Did you have to do any paid ads?
I don't know if I had to, but I did.
Hmm.
And you just reminded me, the PPC course in the pack that I took, it must have been in 2017 or around there.
Hmm.
That's probably, I got to say, that course has propelled my success on Amazon. The way that you guys have taught how to operate PPC was just so simple, but mind blowing to me at the same time. Once I learned how you guys were teaching it, I really couldn't believe, I couldn't believe it. So, you know, currently now my average cost of sale with PPC ads is anywhere from, I mean, last month it was 6.75%. And in the past, I've had very similar numbers. So taking the PPC course has been marvelous in helping me kind of increase my visibility on different products I've sold over the years. So that's helped a
Fantastic.
lot.
Love to hear it,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and a lot of times this podcast we talk about, discuss, and try to keep our focused attention on the new sellers and new seller strategy and building their confidence. But I love the trajectory of your story, Michael, where you've gone from, you did those things, but then you got into private label and you got into some of our more advanced content, is the point I'm making. The Proven Amazon course is a library, like we mentioned earlier. It's the library. It grows with you just in time, what you need next. And I love that you've kind of used it that way. You'll go off, do your thing, make some
Yeah.
money, prove the concept, come back, add on some new strategies. Yeah, it grows with you over time, and we've
Exactly.
got it. Just so you know, I mean, we haven't really said much of this publicly, but we're starting to talk a lot more about identifying the qualified candidates in our community who are ready to get into private label. We feel more equipped than we ever have at this point to really double down on that. We've spent more time talking people out of it than helping them do it the past 10 years, I'd say. We're
Hmm.
about ready to flip that switch, and we're going to help a lot of people launch great brands. We've got some stuff dialed in that we're super excited about. That's coming. Be looking for that news. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I love that you kind of, you're talking wholesale today, you're talking private label today, all stuff that we're getting increasingly excited about around here these days.
Yeah. Yeah. The experience I had starting out with online arbitrage and then transitioning to wholesale, all of that really helped me kind of learn the ropes of online business. Obviously, how to operate Amazon and various other e-commerce platforms, but going down that path of online arbitrage and then wholesale really helped me kind of develop my skills in just dealing with everyday business, talking
Mm-hmm.
to different suppliers, you know, just communicating well, learning how to manage, your funds or capital, how to allocate your funds properly.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a really great learning experience. And then I think over time you just realize, where the opportunity lies. And I think that's how
Mm-hmm.
I easily was able to eventually transition into private label.
Yeah.
So
The,
I'm
the
glad
the
it worked
analogy
out.
I like to use that tends to stick with people, and I've used it recently on another episode, so I apologize if anyone's hearing me repeat this right now, but it's such a great illustration is we treat new sellers coming into our community as if they're entering a water park that has something for everyone. Everything from the kiddie pool with the blue foam where you could fall on your face and not drown because it's a quarter inch of warm water, right? That's the OA, RA, scanning barcodes, finding a few discount items, flipping them. Replens, you're starting to wander into a slightly deeper water. You still got your floaties on, and you could build a 7-figure business right there and be comfortable. Never see the rest of the water park and just have a beautiful business. But over time, you scale to the point where, you're one of these guys, you're going off the 30-foot high dive, doing a couple backflips and landing in a nice clean, you've learned to swim. You don't need floaties anymore. You've got your basic business skills and you can take bigger risks. You can throw $5,000 or $10,000 at an idea and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. All right, learn something. Now we're going to try it again. Right. So we get you to that point. rather than throwing the new people off the 30-foot high dive where they hit the water and can't swim and and it's a disaster, which is what a lot of the industry does. We step people through, and they can go as fast as they want.
Yeah.
But through these skill stages. But we really encourage, you've got to learn the basics. You've got to understand how to swim before you go off the diving board, right? We're really meticulous about that for those who pay attention to what we teach here. And you're a perfect example of that. So I love these stories that validate the trajectory that we teach around here. So I'm very excited the way your story's unfolded today. I love the timeline of it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And, like I said, I was intimidated to just kind of get into private label. So I think that's a great path for people that are new to maybe business in general or just e-commerce in general. Just start off small and just know that if you're really serious about it, it's just going to be part of the process and path. You're not, maybe you start with OA, but in your mind, the end game is something else.
Mm-hmm.
But just knowing that you're going to acquire different skills and experience through the different things that you're going to, run into, that's really invaluable.
And you mentioned relationships along the way as well. You're building your network of relationships, people you can ask questions of, and that's the way to do business the right way. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Very well.
Totally.
Tell me a little bit more about your private label and how it's going. And you said you ordered 100 units. That went well for you.
Right.
Where are we at? Keep us rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. So that 100 units I ordered was last spring. And then I ended up receiving it in the very beginning of fall last year. So since then, I've actually expanded the product line. So at that time, I ordered 2 different SKUs. Now I've got, right now I've got 4 SKUs, and I have another one that I'm adding to the product line. So I just wrote down some numbers here. So year to date, so 2024 year to date, I have a revenue here of 156,500. Now, 2 months, I actually ran out of stock. So for 2 months, I was out of stock on my best-selling SKUs, right? In the last 30 days, I have here that I've done just under 35,000 revenue. This particular product is most popular in the colder months. It still sells pretty decently in the warmer months, but the busy time is the colder months.
Right.
So we're getting into that busy time now.
Yeah.
I just restocked up on, all the inventory that I think I would need. So I'm really excited. We're just getting into busy season, basically.
Ready for Q4. Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
So what are you thinking you're going to hit in 2024? 300 plus, 350? What are you aiming for?
Well, I would say definitely 200. That's only another
for
month,
sure,
actually.
too. Yeah, if it's a cold weather product, because you've only been through one season at this point.
Right. And I was out of stock for a couple months, so just barely a season. I don't see why maybe 300.
Yeah. Well, a lot of sellers do half their business in Q4, especially if they have any kind of seasonal products at all in their mix.
Right.
I don't think 300 is out of the picture. I'd be curious to hear after Christmas how your business is, what number you ended up hitting. Is it a gift related item at all that people might buy as a present?
Not particularly, maybe in some cases, but it's something that this is actually pretty cool. So I've noticed it's a really strong mix of residential and commercial people that buy this product. And there's been a couple times that I do actually, this is a great time for me to shout out the prep center I use. I actually use a prep center. I've been using a prep center for years, actually since 2017. Shout out my prep center in Michigan. Fantastic people. I actually think I found them through the pack somehow or some way.
We've got our list of all prep centers at prepcenternetwork.com, and they're probably on that list. Is probably how you found. That's how most people find them. It's a list of all known prep centers. We don't really rank them. It's impossible to keep track of all.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
There's a bunch of them, but yeah, the first prep center ever, to my knowledge, emerged from this community, and pretty soon they were popping up everywhere. Now they're all over the place as a business model. But we have that free service, prepcenternetwork.com, and they're probably in there. But yeah, my prep in Michigan. Yeah, good. I hope they benefit from your shout out.
Yeah, they've been essential to my success with online business. But what's really cool, a couple, when I do a mix of FBA and FBM. So whenever I get an FBM order, I just kind of get curious. I'll look at the address real quick, see if,
Hmm.
what's going on.
Yeah.
There's been two orders where both of them have been professional sporting teams. So that was like, once that happened, I realized that I might have something going on here. And, now what I'm really focusing on is, obviously optimizing everything that I can possibly do on Amazon. And I have a website for this brand. So as soon as I'm done getting optimized on Amazon, my plan is to kind of grow off Amazon. And so that's what I'm going to be looking forward to going forward. And
Beautiful. And I
right,
love Michael. We are starting to dip our toes in those waters in some significant ways behind the scenes. Where doing things like helping you with influence marketing, helping you grow your email list, you know,
right,
get into multiple platforms, using social media creatively. We're partnering up with some of the best of the best who'd work with the big boys, and we've got their attention, and they love our community. You're going to be right in the middle of the bullseye of who we're trying to serve with some of this stuff, as well as people who are just starting. But you're going to really benefit the next year or two from some of the stuff we're doing. I'm excited about it, man, because yeah, you are. Just imagine if you had direct relationships with those sports franchises and with other similar entities, and maybe even co-branding opportunities with them. We got people that help
mm,
at that level of, maybe they want to put their brand on it. Maybe they want to be an official sponsor. You want to be a sponsor of their product.
uh,
Those types of arrangements, we've got the team in place coming to help with those kind of deals. It's all going to be done through Humminbird, by the way. So you'll start seeing more of that very soon. But yeah, excited for you, man. And your instincts are good. Let's maximize Amazon, and now let's not rely on Amazon, right?
right.
Let's be fruitful there and then multiply. That's the biblical model. Be fruitful and multiply. All right, we're being fruitful. We got a nice system here. Now we're going to expand. We're going to build a moat, if you will. That's what Nate likes to say. Hey, we built this nice castle. Let's build a moat around it. Let's put a drawbridge,
Yes,
right? Let's build another castle with a different moat around it. Multiple streams of income, right? Fantastic.
yes,
Excited
yeah,
for where you're
and
going.
I'm super excited about the new education that you just mentioned because the education part I believe it should never ever stop. So
You're
what
correct.
I love about you guys is you're focused on providing the best possible education. And I was quickly able to sense that from the first day that I found your podcast. So, you know, I definitely have a lot of momentum going, but the learning never stops. So, like you said, those different programs you have coming out, I'm excited to jump into those as well because, like I said, it just never stops. You always want
Yep.
to be learning. There's always
Yep.
new things to do,
Yep.
different, creative ways you can be.
And Nate, our coaching director, he's been with me 22 years at this point. It's crazy to think, Michael, we've got the longest running e-commerce coaching program in the world, and we've got the same two guys running it the whole time. We didn't set out to do that 22 years ago. We just kept serving, and it kept working, and students kept, being happy with what we do. But he talks about the spokes in your marketing wheel, right? Like you've got Amazon, but let's say we're trying to build a wheel that can go for a long period of time, and you can lose a spoke here or there and still be okay. All right, we got Amazon. Let's get eBay. Let's get Walmart rocking. Right? Let's get your own
Right.
Shopify site. Let's get an email list. Let's get some of these direct wholesale relationships, perhaps where you've got other people selling your stuff. Let's get you into retail. That could be a spoke at some point, right?
Right.
We've got the team to help some of those things happen. We don't throw you in and say, hey, let's do all 50 things. No, we're going to take them one step at a time. We're going to bolt things down before we move on to the next project, right? But you're positioned beautifully, and you've been doing it long enough that makes total sense to you. But it's kind of a revolutionary way to do a business, and but it works, man. We hear story after story on this podcast like yours of people who are taking this sequentially, scaling out. And the thing I have to commend you for, Michael, is you haven't got stuck in a rut. What I hate to see is some people, something works and then it kind of slips a little bit. And rather than always be learning and always be seeking to expand their knowledge and trying new things, they just kind of focus in, double down, and just try to make this thing be the same way it was 4 years ago. But no, there's always an evolution. There's always
Yeah.
change. There's always new opportunity. You have to, like you just said, Michael, you put it great yourself. You always have to be learning. That's one of the rules of e-commerce. If you're willing to keep learning, you're going to do great. Build your relationships and keep learning, you're going to do great. You ignore either one of those two, and you're going to struggle. Relationships and learning,
Right.
what it's all about in e-commerce.
That's really well said. And, I think it's really important to be as open and as flexible as possible and to not get fixated on one way of doing things.
Mm.
I had forgotten to mention that I actually was a coaching student, and the coach that I had specialized in, I think it was called proven product partnering.
Yeah, the PPP, proven product partnering. For those who don't know, that's simply going to brands that don't have a presence on Amazon yet, or have a weak presence on Amazon, and partnering with them in a mutually beneficial way that pays really well to you to help them improve their Amazon presence. So it's a very low risk proposition you make them, and it doesn't cost them a lot. Yeah, we've got people killing it with that. Just doing that. They don't sell their own stuff on Amazon at all. They just help brands get on Amazon and do it the right way, help them navigate this confusing territory. That's the model. PP. It's a module in the Proven Amazon course. Sorry to interrupt you. Just making sure we keep all the listeners up to speed. And then when you have to go through and rattle all that off. So.
No, that's beautiful. And that's I wasn't necessarily that portion of that program was appealing to me, helping other people get on Amazon. And I didn't necessarily know if that's what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted a coach that was in e-commerce. So going through that coaching program, even though he wasn't specializing in wholesale or private label, it was still really valuable to me to be able to talk to somebody that's really in there getting their hands dirty. So, and I was able to bounce ideas off of him, and just hearing his psychology about how he thought about different things really was able to help me shape the way that I would move forward and approach, kind of chipping away at the rock that I wanted to create. So, I guess the point is, you don't have to be fixated or rigid in your approach. You can kind of just dive in, and whatever kind of flows to you, whatever feels good, just kind of move towards that and see what's going on there, and then just let it blossom. You're not going to have all the answers figured out. I definitely didn't. But I think what's really important is being consistent. As long as you're consistent and you're honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, you're probably going to make the wrong decision somewhere along the way. So if you're consistent and you're very honest with yourself and you just stick it out, something will eventually just make too much sense, and you'll know it's the right thing. That's kind of how it happened with me, but it took a long time. It wasn't something that was just, overnight.
Pardon the brief interruption, but I want to tell you about a new sponsor who we are very excited to bring on board. They help you buy or sell an Amazon account. Did you know you can do that within Amazon's policy? Completely legitimate. They've helped hundreds of others do these transactions. You can sell your Amazon account if you're done with it. Maybe you haven't used it in a while. You know someone who's got one that they're not using. Tell them about silentjimdotcom/buy or sell. BUYOR SELL. Just spell it out like it's one word. silentjimdotcom/buy or sell. If you want to get a head start and get ramped up faster with category approval and some of the other challenges that come with having a new account, you can kind of skip over those. Again, this is Amazon approved transactions. They're going to vet you. The company that you're going to be buying the account from will be vetted as well. And again, we vouch for them because they've helped a whole bunch of people over the years in our community either buy or sell an Amazon account. That account that you have that's just sitting dormant, maybe it's a spare account you're not using any longer, it could be worth some money. So contact them. silentjim.com/buy or sell. Let's get back to the program.
That's kind of how it happened with me, but it took a long time. It wasn't something that was just, overnight.
Yeah.
So
one of the reasons that, again, to go back to our swimming pool analogy, or even we could use a fishing analogy if you want, like when I was teaching my kids to fish, I took them to a little pond where I knew we were going to catch a few little fish just to get them excited. I didn't take them deep sea diving their first time, where you might go out all day and not catch anything, but you go out 4, 5, 10 times, you're going to come back with a monster at some point. And you learn you mature into knowing, okay, sometimes fishing is just about being patient and just, enjoying a day in the sun. And sometimes it's a real adventure. But if you start off a newbie and their first adventure is you went out all day, got a sunburn, and didn't catch anything, you've ruined fishing forever for that person, right? Same thing with the swimming analogy. If the first time my kid swims, I shove them off the 10-foot high dive, like I've probably ruined swimming and diving for the rest of their life. So the reason we have these low risk, low learning curve, low investment required, high odds of success business models is because it gets you a taste and it gets that momentum going and you get your confidence up so you can have those seasons where, okay, I'm just going to double down in the next 3 months. I'm going to find my brand because you
Yeah.
know that there's a monster of an opportunity in there. You've got your confidence now and you've got this leveled out machine over here churning out some consistent profits that you can lean on anytime you need it. And you can adventure out and take some risks.
Yes.
Right. So I love that. And that you're just illustrating it with your own words, Michael. That's exactly what you've done. You build your confidence, build the models. And the nice thing too about what you're doing, Michael, we haven't really mentioned this, but one of the reasons we love to see people kind of climb this scale is because now you've got an asset that you could sell.
Right.
You could turn this over to someone else. You could say, hey, this is a brand that I've built. These are our numbers. Here's my P&L for this brand. Who wants to buy it? And someone's going to make you an offer and you get a nice payday and you step away. You can't do that if you're flipping yard sale items on eBay.
Right.
No one's going to buy that business from you. So that's one of the reasons why we'd like to slowly scale you up into the slightly riskier, slightly more business knowledge needed models, because now you've got an asset. You've got an income producing asset. That's something that can be sold to someone else at some point. Right? That's the trajectory. Very intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really exciting. And, kind of when I kind of realized like, oh, wait a minute, like I have an asset here, something that's generating income. And yeah, I definitely thought about that. Totally. You're totally right. You have that's really what makes it worth transitioning from something like OA or wholesale to private label, because that opportunity exists where it might be, a lot more difficult to do something like that with another model. So that's what makes it worthwhile for sure.
Yeah. It's something we're excited about. It's slightly off topic, but still not really, is for the first time ever, we're on the cusp as a community of turning REPLENS businesses into a very sellable asset. Like for those who haven't heard the podcast episode 754 with Kang, or you can go listen to read more about it at silentjimdotcom/the system. It's basically software that automates REPLENS to the point where you could have a book of ASINs that you're reselling other people's stuff, but it's so systemized and automated that it's now turnkey for someone else to take over. You've got the VAs in place. You got your warehouse, either a prep center worked out, and like in your case, Michael, and you've got your own team doing the prep, but it could all be turned over to someone else with very minimal education necessary. Like, here's the keys. It's your business now. Put in $10,000 a month, pull out 12,000 net profit, whatever. Like here, it's just a running machine. Here's how you find your new products. Here's, the VAs are doing that part. The the warehouse workers are doing their part. And in Kang's case, he's got, multiple 7-figure business. 4 people are running it for him. And he basically checks his stats. That's the story from that episode 754 of our podcast. So that software is going to be available to everybody. And that's what that link is, silentjimdotcom/the system. So what's exciting is we're pushing that line down in the funnel where you can have an asset that can be sold to someone else and be very valuable. And so we're excited to start seeing that happen at all levels of the different programs that we teach here, not just for those who have built a brand, right?
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I didn't even kind of think about that and how, yeah, you might not have a brand, but if you have an income producing asset, whether it's RA or wholesale, yeah, there's lots of people that would be interested in something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The e-commerce businesses are snatched up all day, every day at very high multiples, like whereas a traditional business might only look at the past, to evaluate, might look at a couple of years. With e-commerce, a lot of times I'll look at multiple years beyond that as far as assessing the value and the potential of the business. So yeah, we're in a good blue ocean opportunity. We're not in a dying industry. We're in one that's expanding so rapidly that it's hard to find accurate projections. We keep getting surprised and taking 5-year leaps forward into the future. over the course of just a few months, it's like, it's expanding so fast.
Yeah.
It's a good business to be in, which allows us all to treat each other not like competitors, but like fellow business building warriors, because there's opportunity everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. And I love how we kind of always refer to ourselves as, business building warriors, because when you think about a warrior, there's constant resistance.
Yes.
And, you know, I've ran into tons of resistance since starting this. But when you look at it as like you're a warrior, you just kind of realize it's part of the game. It's to be expected. And, quite frankly, if there wasn't any resistance, it just wouldn't be possible. It would just be something that everybody, it just wouldn't be that valuable.
Yeah. A mentor of
So,
mine once said, if it was so simple, you could train monkeys to do it. People would train a bunch of monkeys to do it, and the opportunity would be dead because everybody
right.
has trained monkeys doing it. You can't bring any new value. So what you've hit on is there's actually a Hebrew principle there that I love to point out every chance I get. Opposition, it's understood in the Hebrew language. Opposition always equals opportunity. The more opposition, the more the opportunity. The
Yes.
greater the headwind, the greater the opportunity that's on the other side of conquering it and managing and navigating it, because so few people will be willing to do that. So
Yes. Right.
to me, when Amazon makes things a little tricky or there's a little policy change and a lot of people go running for the hills and screaming, the sky's falling, I'm like, opportunity, man. You just fit
Yeah.
the herd a little bit. Those of us who, don't run screaming and crying and hide in the corner are saying, whoa, okay, the shoppers are still showing up in greater numbers than they were yesterday, spending more money than they did last year by far. Every year that's been true. So all I got to do is raise my prices and adapt to the new policies. And off we go, man. And that's just Amazon, right? That's just one landscape to
Right.
play in. Uh, I've said that for years. Customers pay all of the fees. Customers pay for all the inconveniences and all the challenges that Amazon puts us as sellers through. Customers are paying for it, not us. Adapt your
That's
prices,
exactly
find good
right.
products, adjust, and keep plowing forward, serving this ever growing community of shoppers who are just ravenous. And it's still only 20% of retail is e-commerce. It blows me away. I
That's
hardly believe it
amazing.
myself when I say it, but that's US government data. 20% of retail activity in the US is online. 80% is still traditional. We're in the new stages of this game.
I totally agree. I mean, that is a mind blowing stat. You would think it'd be a lot more, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
absurdly low, and that
it
just
is.
kind of highlights the opportunity available. And I think as anyone that's really serious about selling physical products online, I think if you come at it from the angle that you're an entrepreneur, and the number one job, in my opinion, of an entrepreneur is to satisfy the consumer.
Yes.
So, if you come at it through that angle when you're doing your product research, when you're, looking at various numbers, when you're doing the packaging or whatever it might be, if you always come at it through the angle of how can I satisfy the consumer? How can I satisfy the consumer better than the competitor? You know, that's really a huge part of the formula besides the technical skill. Thinking about the consumer is number one.
Yeah. And that may
Um,
sound like an obvious thing to say,
it
but
might, yeah,
the
yeah,
opposing principle here that in my experience, I've been coaching e-commerce for 20 years. And one of the greatest battles I have to fight with a lot of people is, and you kind of hinted at it a little bit too, and this isn't me correcting you, Michael, but just pointing out, one of the
sure.
things that you did was like, oh, what areas am I interested in? Right? Like that's a fun place to start, but you don't have to start there. And one of the big battles we fight here is people who say, well, I want to sell something I'm passionate about. Like, that's not a necessary starting point. I'm not saying there's anything lacking in virtue in that. I'm just saying you basically narrowed the playing field down far more dramatically than is necessary. Because what you'll discover is if a product starts selling well and you've got a line of people waiting to pay you and say thank you with those little green pieces of paper we call money, like, certificates of appreciation, as Daniel Lapin calls them, you're going to get passionate about whatever that product is. It doesn't matter
Yes.
what it is. You're going to be passionate because you got a whole lot of people saying thank you, and your heart's going to get into it, and you're going to find yourself passionate about. And I'm looking at my front window. My son's walking around picking up dog messes in our front yard, right? Like, okay, whoever makes that bag that he's using right now, who grew up thinking I'm passionate about doggy pickup bag? Well, someone is,
Right.
because that's their
Right.
family's business now. And they discover that niche and they sell those bags, and they're one of the top sellers on Amazon for that bag. And they're passionate about it. They don't want the bags that tear. Customers complain, right? Biodegradable. That's a big deal to some of our customers. Okay, the color matters, and hey, we can put our logo on the bag, and we can actually serve people better. Get on their auto ship program. Like they get into that niche, and suddenly they're passionate about serving their loyal customers who are making videos and bragging about how much they love this product. Never take my dog for a walk without it, right? They didn't think they were going to be passionate about that when they started, but
Right.
here they are, right? And that can be any entrepreneur's story. So it's an important point. It may sound like I beat it up a little bit too much, but what I really do by bringing this point up, Michael, is I say, if you start with what you're passionate about, it's a very narrow, little tiny window that you're peeking through, looking at the opportunity. Why not pull back the curtains and say, okay, what do people want? What do they need? I'll become passionate about that.
Yes. Yeah. That's excellent. You definitely don't have to get into a business that you're passionate about. Oftentimes, you probably won't. I think what's more important is that maybe you're passionate about business or,
Mm-hmm. Passionate about serving.
Yeah,
That's it, man.
exactly. Because
Passionate
that's
about
what
serving your
business really
customers.
is.
Because every
Right.
business, and you can attest to this, Michael, and as can I, it doesn't matter what your business is. Let's say you're right smack dab in the perfect business, following your passion, and you just love the product. And you've always loved it, and it's right in the heart of your favorite hobby. There's still going to be about 70% of your time spent focusing and thinking and dealing with issues you wish you didn't have to deal with. Because
Yes.
that's business, man. Taxes.
Yes.
None of us wake up excited, but we all got to do it. We all got to talk to the
Oh,
accountant every once in a while. Maybe you really like your accountant, but still, come on. All they do is take money and talk about how much money the government's going to take. Like, that's not fun, but every business has to do it.
right.
Right. So pursuing your passion is like, so you can spend a little bit more time at the beginning on something that's fun. Well, it's all going to be fun if you have happy customers, and there's always going to be stuff you got to do that you don't want to do. That's part of the discipline of building a business. That's part of the discipline of having anything worth having in life.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The wholesale products and the OA products, wasn't passionate about any of it, but it was making me good money. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really the process that I was more passionate about.
Yeah.
With the private label thing I have going on, that I guess I got kind of lucky. That product actually stemmed from a personal problem that I was actually having. And, I'm still working through the problem, but it was because of that problem that I was having that led me to finding this particular product, because this particular product is related to an activity that was really only one of the most effective modalities in helping me with the particular problem I was having. So you might not even be, and anyone that's thinking of, that's doing product research or that wants to kind of propel where they're at, maybe just think about a problem that you're having, and because you're an expert in that particular situation. There's a few other problems that I'm having. We all have problems, right? And I've learned so much about that particular issue, and just doing research, reading books. So that sparked a lot of other ideas that I've written down that I want to
Mm-hmm.
go back to later on.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like you're well on the path towards creating content in this arena. If it's something that affects a lot of other people, and hey, you've got one of the best selling products on Amazon in this arena, you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of people. That's the beauty of the long tail opportunities. You can reach the global audience for any tiny niche, inch wide, mile deep niche. And you could become the foremost authority on this topic. And that opens up even a whole nother world of not just product, but content, that you can create. And, now you get your mailing list, and you're the world's foremost expert. I would encourage you to even call yourself this. No one's going to challenge you, especially on these little niche markets. Call yourself or the world's foremost expert. on this topic. Write a little book on this topic, right? You'll be amazed what kind of opportunities come from that kind of adventure. And it does require a bit of a passion on your subject matter to go in that direction, to become an expert on that. But yeah, beautiful. These are topics of great passion for me. I just, because I started my whole adventure, Michael, as I want to figure out how to have a business I can be proud of that gives me flexible time at home with my family. And as I started discovering it, I found out I'm very passionate about teaching others too, because I want this for as many other people. I saw this blue ocean. Like I'm not the only guy that can go out here and fish on this ocean, man. This ocean keeps getting bigger. Who else wants to come out here with me? Let's build a community. I became passionate about sharing that adventure. And that's what I've done for 22 years. But it's the same thing you're talking about. Solve a problem, tell your story, become passionate, call yourself an expert, earn that by helping others succeed in that arena, and tell their stories, which is what we're doing right now today. But your niche strikes me as something, without me even knowing the niche, obviously, it's not something we want to create a bunch of competitors for you right now. But that is a bridge you have to cross is, if I want to call myself an expert, I'm going to open myself up to potential competitors because we're going to look at what I'm doing. That's always a bridge you want to cross. Every time you want to get out there like, yep, this is my niche. This is my product. This is what I do. I'm the best in the world at it. Here's my qualifications. I'll help you too. That's a great system to build. It's just next level, man. It's the leadership journey that you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that really is the formula. If you can get yourself in that position, the rest, the opportunity will just kind of present itself to you.
It does.
Yeah. And when it does, you swing the bat full force at it. Mm-hmm. So I think through experience, you kind of develop an eye for when there's opportunity. Like we were saying before, the more experience, the more confident you feel in particular situations, and the more you can see that opportunity in front of you.
Yep. Yeah, you're developing your ability to even see it. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I often say it's like we take blinders off. People think they know what it means to sell online. They think it's kind of just like eBay. Yeah, you buy something cheap, you sell it for more money. I need profitable products. They come in saying, where can I find profitable products? Who's a good wholesaler? What's a good store to shop at? What's a good category to get into? They're asking all the wrong questions, right? We recognize it. What you should be saying is, where's the underserved shelf space at Amazon that I can help easily fill? Like, how can I learn to recognize the underserved shelf space? Once we got you asking the right question, now we can start to work, right, on getting you there, right? You start to climb.
And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier about being open and not having just one fixated idea. Mm-hmm. Even when I was kind of starting this whole thing, I would talk to my friends that knew nothing about online business or business in general or e-commerce. And they would just say things like, doesn't Amazon take like 30% or, mm-hmm. You gotta be really lucky at that. Or, just different, they could say anything, but you just kind of realize that you actually have so much power to really do anything that you really want to do. I knew that I wanted to succeed in e-commerce. I knew I wasn't going to give up. I knew the road was going to be bumpy. So it's really important to educate yourself as much as possible and realize, there's a lot of technical skill that you can easily develop through programs like the Proven Amazon course. I mean, I took several courses before finding the pack, but they just didn't click. I'm not sure why. Maybe it clicked for other people, but fortunately enough, all the education that I learned from the pack since day one, it just clicked. So never stop learning. And if you run into resistance, you just kind of pivot and never forget, which is the most important, is that you're looking to provide value to people and they'll voluntarily purchase your product. So if they're voluntarily purchasing your product, you're doing something right. You're not going to force anybody to purchase your product. So you keep that in mind, that you're looking to provide value, you're going to be on the golden path.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's why I look at small business owners as some of the most virtuous, helpful people in the world because they don't get paid unless they're providing value. Not to get on a political rant, but there's a lot of government programs that those people who do that stuff, they're going to get paid whether they do it well or not. It just doesn't really matter. And actually, incompetence is often rewarded. Like,
It
hey,
made
we
me
need more
think
people
of
and money to do it right. Okay, here's a bunch more people and money. Right? It's not even performance isn't even questioned. Small business owners' performance is questioned every single day. If nobody's buying your stuff, man, it's voluntary. I don't get to force anybody to buy my stuff. So if I see I've said this frequently, and this is how we've built our coaching team, Michael. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but our coaching team consists of people who have said, I'm going to fight the headwinds. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to make it work. They build a beautiful business. They sustain it over a significant period of time. And if that's all I know about someone is they built a business, I don't care what the business is, as long as it's ethical and legal. I don't care what the business is. They've sustained profitability over an extended period of time with happy clients who aren't asking for a refund. A week later, 6 weeks later, 3 months later, they still think fondly of the interactions they had with you. That person in charge of that system is an amazing human being, someone that's a safe bet. Some of those virtuous, helpful, caring, giving, empathetic people you'll ever meet are small business owners because they know about delayed gratification, serving well, taking risks, putting their own desires aside for a time in the interest of building something better for themselves and their family in the future by serving others. Those are hard lessons a lot of people never learn. And small business will force you into those things. So if that's all I know about you is you've maintained stability and profitability over an extended period of time in your own small business, I know a lot about that person. They're one of the safest bets you can make. And that's how we've built our team. Our interview process for our coaches is shorter than most people would realize. I don't need a long interview process. You've sustained profitability using the proven Amazon course systems for a significant period of time. You've got a teacher's heart as demonstrated by your willingness to answer questions to strangers in a Facebook group. Yeah, you're our kind of people. That's all I need to know. I don't care how many cats you own, how long you've been married, where you went to college, what grades you got, if you dropped out of high school, all irrelevant.
Yeah, that's kind of the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter. Almost nothing matters. What matters is, are you solving a problem? Mm-hmm. Are you satisfying a need that other people have?
Yeah.
As long as you're doing that. I always, it's kind of funny, today's Labor Day, and I always cringe on this particular holiday because where's the Entrepreneur Day?
Yeah. Every entrepreneur I know is working today.
Right. And they're, it's like, something else that makes me cringe. It's like, I don't mean to get too political, but when people say who's running our country, politicians are not the people that run the country. It's entrepreneurs that run the country.
Small businesses.
So
yeah, we're like 65%. The companies that have less than 50 employees, the small businesses, that includes all of us, we're like 60% of the economy, if not more. Like if we all
would never know that listening to you.
Like if we all decided to unionize and take a strike, like who's going to care? But the country shuts down immediately. It's the small businesses that are, you're completely right. We are the economy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I say business building warriors. It's a path where you're going to be misunderstood, but the rewards are incredible. You're going to be surrounded by great people. If you do succeed, you're going to have a whole lot of people saying, well, when are you going to pay your fair share? It's like, dude, I've been sacrificing every day for decades. You have no idea the stories I could tell of I didn't get paid. Everyone else got paid past few months. I didn't get paid. I'm taking risks. I believe in what I'm building. And then when the rewards come, everyone notices. But what they don't notice is, the large number of people who try and fail. They just get burned out. Say, man, they don't have what it takes, or they picked a bad niche, or they let their emotions get the best of them. And there's so many ways. It's kind of like my buddy Daniel Lappin talks about why has every plane crash in history crashed for the same exact reason. Do you know where I'm going with this? It's a good analogy.
I don't think I've heard this one.
Every plane crash in history crashed for the same exact reason. Gravity. Right? Like, come on. Like the natural state of things is to descend into chaos and disorder, entropy. destroys everything eventually. So what's a business building warrior? It's someone who's constantly monitoring everything that could go wrong and making sure it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to keep a plane in the air. Now, we don't like to think about that when we're flying, but there's 1,000 things going right. So it's not, oh no, why did the plane crash? Every plane crashes unless everything goes right.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so what keeps the plane in the air? That's the question we need to ask. Wow, an incredible set of synchronized systems running perfectly in harmony, checked by mechanics and professionals that ensure with redundancy, everything's operating perfectly. That's what it's like to run a business. Like, why'd your business fail? Oh, it could be one of 8,000. That's why we don't have on this podcast. Sometimes people say, Jim, why don't you ever interview the people whose business have failed? I'm like, I could make anyone's business fail in 2 minutes,
Yes.
right? You're a dude that's married. Cheat on your wife. Your business is going to crash and burn, right?
Yes.
Hey,
Right.
just empty your bank account because you want to go to Vegas, right? Like we could brainstorm between the two of us 1,000 ways to make a business fail in 2 minutes.
Yeah. It definitely
Those aren't interesting
takes.
stories.
Yeah. Right. When you decide to kind of go down this route, it really does take a lot of maturity. Because if you mess around, the money's either coming in or it's not. And you really got to put your ego to the side, because that's not what any of this is about. It's never about your ego, right? The number one thing is, I know we've said this a bunch, but it really is about satisfying the customer.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like you said, the entrepreneur is the last person to get paid. Nobody ever really talks about that.
Mm-hmm.
They got to make sure everything else is correct, and only if there's anything left over at the end of the day, then do they get paid.
Yeah.
But there's so much risk.
There's some books out there about that profit first, that pay yourself first. And I get it. But if you don't have a profitable system, paying yourself first just sinks the ship. You've got to have a profitable system. You've got to be bringing in more than you're putting out, adding value to a customer's life while doing it. That's what business always has been. That's what it always will be. Right. And that's a harsh reality. You're fighting the headwinds, you're fighting gravity. But the beautiful thing is we're playing in this arena where, from my vantage point, there's never been less risk involved in making those things happen. You don't have to take big risks. You just don't. That's how the internet changed things. You can test small, take small risks. When something works, you double down, you go a little deeper. There's some people who take big risks in e-commerce. That's like private label for new sellers. Like, hey, I'm going to go spend 50 grand and hope it works out someday. We don't do that here.
Right.
It's too scary for me. I don't like taking people down that road and being there when it all crashes, because we didn't take it slow and steady. But yeah, well, great topic, man. We do need to wind this episode up. I've got another appointment coming at me here before too long, but I do want to make sure that anything that you had on your mind, anything else you wanted to say to the listeners today, or anything else, a question for me, perhaps, to take advantage of this time we have together. Anything else on your mind as we would start to land this plane, to say?
Yeah, well, not anything particular. I enjoyed, having this discussion. It was great to talk to you, and I hope everybody listening was able to take away at least something from our conversation. I would really just say, be very honest with yourself. Realize that the rewards may not come right away. But if you're honest with yourself and you really want something like a physical product brand online, or whatever your venture might be, to just stick with it and realize when there's resistance, that's your opportunity to just plow right through it. I hope that was valuable. I would definitely be down to do something like this again. And I wish everyone the best of luck.
Yeah. Well, you've got a great story. You've faced down many challenges. I'm sure there's many nuances to your story that we didn't dive in today, but you've done a great job, man. Sometimes it's unimaginable to me to just kind of try to draw a circle around this community and all the great people out there who have just kind of quietly gone about their business and built an incredible opportunity for themselves, for their families, for the customers they serve. And you're just another great business building warrior out there doing what you do, man. You planning to come to our conference in May?
I haven't been before, but I think this one I'm definitely going to plan on it.
Dude, awesome. That's on Orlando in May of 2025. You're going to absolutely, if you like this community already, you're going to fall in love with it. It's incredible. We had about almost 800 people there this last year. Going to the same place again in Orlando. It's the last 3 days of May. Circle it on your calendar. That's the 29th, 30th, 31st of May. right? Yeah, that's right. 29, 30, 31st of May, 2025 in Orlando. Theprovenconference.com. But yeah, I would love to meet you down there, man. Be sure to come up and say hey when you do. And you'll have other people recognize you from the podcast too. Now that you've done this, you'll have some people tracking you down, I'm sure. But
Absolutely.
oh,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah, this opens up a lot of doors of opportunity, which is maybe a good point to end on. If you're in our community and you've benefited from the stuff we teach around here, like Michael did today, putting your name and your face out there, it's the next step of leadership and growth in your business for so many people. You're going to have opportunities. People approach you. People want to talk to you. People want to partner with you maybe on a project or product. That's how you grow. Put your name out there, put your face out there, get into the Facebook group, post, be helpful, ask questions. That always leads to good opportunities in this community. So I encourage the listeners to that today. But hey, Michael, thanks, man. Great show today. Appreciate your time.
Same here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And to the listeners who hung out with Michael and I today, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully you received some great insights and information. We love doing these episodes for you. We'll have another great one for you very soon. Thanks for spending time with us today.